Hello there, and welcome to the Time Machine with Trish and Mike. I'm Mike,
And I'm Trish.
and we are glad you're with us once again for another fantastic, fun-filled, exciting, other adjectives that I am just drawing a blank on show for you today. How you doing, Trish?
I'm doing good, Mike. Happy 25th day of February.
Yes, that means we are coming up on March. We are almost going to be here within a couple of days. We're going to be a sixth of the way through the year already.
Isn't that insane? I feel like you were just saying like last week, like we had made it to the end of January.
It
February's
does.
flown.
It really has. I mean, maybe it's just because we've, for the most part, for like the last year, have had no concept of time and
That is
everything's
true.
ran together. But
hmm
um, yeah, I don't know. But hey, we're here, and every day and every week that we do this, we're getting closer to getting back to some degree of normalcy. So that I am excited about. So
Me too.
yeah,
Yes.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah, we're already 1 week into Lent for those of us that celebrate Lent or participate in it.
Yes, and that means we just had Mardi Gras wrap up
hmm
last week. Speaking of something that went on but was obviously very different due to COVID this year. But go ahead, Trish, and tell us a little bit about Le Mardi Gras.
Yeah, so the first American Mardi Gras took place on March 3rd, 1699, with two French explorers, Pierre de Mont d'Iberville and Sieur de Bienville, landing
Beautiful.
near present-day New Orleans, Louisiana. So they actually held a small celebration and dubbed their landing spot Point de Mardi Gras.
That would explain the rich French connection history that you have there in New Orleans.
Well, and New Orleans also was populated by Acadians from who were originally French settlers out of Nova Scotia, and they got expelled by the British and
Yeah.
sent into British colonies down into the United States. And so the Cajun is actually a nice mixture of these different heritage components. Yeah,
Neat.
a little
Yeah.
mini history lesson.
Yeah. New Orleans is a very interesting city when you get into its history. When you get into like you were just saying, how they got sent down there basically, and Mardi Gras is an interesting time. It was cool to see this year because you have the companies that would put on the floats. They didn't have the traditional parades this year, and
Right?
so people went to the float companies and had them come decorate their houses, much like how people would decorate their houses at Christmas time. So there are houses all throughout New Orleans that are decorated with giant uh, items and fleur de lises and giant beads and whatnot, like you would have on
I'm
these
assuming all
floats.
the bright colors that you
hmm
normally see at
Yeah,
Mardi Gras.
yeah,
I would
the
love
purple
to
and
go
gold.
to New Orleans. It seems like
Yeah,
such a beautiful city and just like you said, so rich with history.
hmm yeah,
Oh,
absolutely. It really is. It's a neat city. I've never been there. I much like you, I would love to go there at some point. Have you ever had a king cake, or do you even know what a king cake is?
yes. So I grew up Catholic,
hmm
and for those of you that don't participate in like kind of the Christian based tradition, Mardi Gras translates to Fat Tuesday. And it follows the Catholic tradition of using up any items that might be distracting to fasting or prayer. So we often, that's why you have pancakes, right? It's using up the rich milk and the eggs and the butter to get it out of your house so that you're not tempted to use it during the 40 days of Lent. And so we have a version of king cake here that I grew up with, but we didn't have it wasn't the same design and we didn't have the same colors. Like I've seen the bright green and the bright purple and the yellow on top of the king cakes, but we definitely had a similar thing where you would get the little items in the cake that would kind of predict how your year was going to go or any of those kind of extra blessings you were going to receive.
My boss, she went to school actually at Tulane
Oh, okay.
University, which is in New
hmm
Orleans, and so she has had a king cake for us the last couple of years that I've worked at the place I'm at, and so like she gets it shipped to us. In fact, this year she was in New Orleans and just brought it back with her on the plane.
Oh,
So,
nice.
so I literally had fresh king cake
King's
this year.
cake. Oof,
So that
that'd be
was
good.
that was good. It was fresh. They had just baked it probably this morning or overnight, or not this morning, but that day, or overnight. And I did not get the piece with the baby in it, so I do not have to buy the cake for next year. So
Always a good thing.
It's always a good thing
to not be in debt to others. And I haven't had one in years. The tradition here since I've moved was IHOP always has, of course, free pancakes on Fat Tuesday or Shrove Tuesday or Mardi Gras. And friends and I, we go out, and kids eat free too on that day. So it's, cheap, nice way to go out and hang out with friends. And
now, do they have like lines out the door and stuff when
Oh,
they
yeah.
do those? Yeah, okay. Because
Yeah.
like here we do, I don't remember what day it is, but there's like free pancake day at Denny's or IHOP or something, and you will drive by and there's a line out the door, and I'm like, I'm good. I'll just go tomorrow and pay $3.99 if I want some
But it's so
pancakes.
fun. And there's 2 locations here in Edmonton. So the friends that we usually alternate if it's the north location or the south location, so that everyone within the city kind of has a chance to not drive all over the place to get to dinner together.
Gotcha. Well, that's
Yeah.
nice. At least you kind of work it out that way. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. A side note about d'Iberville is there's a Canadian connection. So not only does he start the American Mardi Gras in New Orleans, but he's actually perhaps the first great soldier that's actually born in Canada.
Ah.
Yeah.
So once again, we find an interesting Canadian-American fact.
Yeah, he was supposed to actually go into the priesthood, but at 12, he became a cabin boy on his uncle's ship, and the life of adventure called to him, and now we have, Mardi Gras because of it.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
What I found interesting, actually, was when the Spanish took control of New Orleans, they abolished the decades of Mardi Gras partying. They got rid of these rowdy rituals, and the band on Mardi Gras actually remained until Louisiana became a U.S. state in 1812.
And then the first thing they did was
party it up.
Party it up. Laissez les bon temps brûler, right?
I thought that was so interesting, though, to go from I know Louisiana started off it was French, and then the British took control, and then the Spanish, and then reverted back to British and then American. But just interesting that they, both being Catholic countries, France and Spain, that Spain just decided, nope, we're getting rid of these rowdy parties.
They're rowdy parties, that's for sure.
I was going to say, maybe the French are just more well known for their rowdy parties.
Could be. It could be, or just, yeah.
I have no idea.
That's just, I'm just not going to go there. I'll just let that one sit.
So yeah, ever since 1812, the party has not stopped. And like you said, even with COVID, it hasn't really stopped. Just changed.
It just changed. It's like with anything for the last year. We've been able to do, I won't say a lot of things, but we've been able to keep some things going. We just have to do them slightly differently. It's like be
flexible.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like you said, get back to normal one day at a time. So hopefully next year, Mardi Gras might be back to being the swinging epic party that we all know it to be.
Yeah. I think that it might even be bigger and better next year because of having a year off. People are, hey, I'm really ready to party, and let's have a good time and eat king cake and throw beads and dress up in costumes and all the fun stuff.
Sounds like we need to plan a road trip.
Yeah, we could do that. Although it's a little bit longer of a trip for you, but yeah, it's
in the middle of a school year, it doesn't usually work so well. But hey, you never know. We could find a way.
We could make it. We'll just get a way to freeze time for like a couple days for you to drive down, and then restart the clock once you're down, and then we can make that work.
That works, right?
Totally, right.
Sure.
I mean, we got the time machine. We control time, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Who's going to tell us we can't?
We just went there this year. We're recording this from the future. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. See, you don't even know. The year's 2037 at this point.
2037. Oh my goodness. We're going to be so old by then.
Don't. Go back. Go back. Go back. Well, speaking of going back, Galileo.
Yeah,
Figaro, Galileo. Oh, I went
But
too far back.
we're going back even further.
Yes.
On February 26, 1616, Galileo Galilei was formally banned and banished by the Roman Catholic Church for teaching and defending the opinion that the Earth orbits the sun.
Banned.
Banned. Dun, 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 dun. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Banned.
Right? He had theorized the astronomical model in which the Earth and the planets actually revolved around the sun, having the sun at the center of the universe. And after this ban, he's basically put on he's put on the watch of the Catholic Church. They're like, we're keeping our eye on you, man.
For this crazy theory about the Earth revolving around the sun.
Which it blows my mind when you think about it. Like, how in 1616 were scientists able to actually figure that out, right? Dealing with gravity and the stars moving. It's just, I find it really mind-boggling.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you, because you figure, okay, we have telescopes were obviously a thing at that point, and you can figure out that over time, stars and planets, or of course how you know they're planets is kind of beyond me. You just know that there's something out there, but you can see these things move across the sky, but you still don't really have a sense that you're spinning around these things versus everything spinning around you.
Yeah.
So it is, if no one's ever brought that up, I could see where they go, this is kind of weird. Now, kick somebody out of the church for it, I don't know about that, but it was a different time back then.
Yeah, and they're using passages from the Bible, right, which is of course the core of the Catholic faith,
right,
to theorize that the Earth is at the center, and so they were basically like, anything you teach opposite of that is wrong. So they told him, now that he was on the watch, that he was to abstain from holding, teaching, or defending any of these ideas that had the sun at the center with everything else rotating around it. But he doesn't really abide by that. And he goes on to propose the theory of tides in 1616 and comets in 1619. And he argues that the tides and the movement of the comets are the evidence for the motion of the Earth and what's actually in the center of our solar system. And mounting evidence, because of him holding these theories and publishing these theories, they actually have a Roman Inquisition, and they tried Galileo in 1633, and they found him totally guilty. They sentenced him to indefinite imprisonment, and he's kept under house arrest until his death in 1642. And what's interesting is, so he goes through all of that trouble of basically trying to prove himself, and the church being like, no, you're wrong. Finally, the church in 1992, October 31st, actually, Halloween, the Pope John Paul redacts the church's condemnation of him.
It took them 300 plus years, but they finally get around to it. I mean, okay.
Yeah. Things move very slowly in church politics and church documentation and history. But hey, yeah, like you said, 300 years later, they admit that they're wrong. They remove the condemnation of him. And I just find it interesting that it's on Halloween.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting that it wound up being on that day.
Other scientists for decades beforehand had already agreed that he was right, but... So another interesting person who is condemned by the Catholic Church this week.
Wait a minute. Is this Tutor Time with Trish?
Maybe. Are you ready for your tutoring?
I'm ready for my 2-minute tutor time with Trish.
Okay, good. 2-minute tutor time with Trish. I love it.
We need a theme song for this.
Can we? I love it.
We can make it happen somehow.
Oh, we have to have like green sleeves, because Henry Tudor is supposedly the one that composed it.
Okay, well, Green Sleeves is What Child Is This, right? So,
yes.
Yeah, so 2-minute tutor time with Trish.
I love it. I'm clapping here.
All right.
So February 25th, 1570. So, 45 years before Galileo, Pope Pius V declares Elizabeth I is a heretic. And as such, she's excommunicated by a way of what's known as a papal bull, or just an official order from the Pope. And this order actually releases all Catholics from any loyalty to Elizabeth. and called upon them to remove her from the throne. So the Pope was attempting to raise support for Mary, Queen of Scots, who was the Catholic ruler and Elizabeth's cousin. So this actually, as you can imagine, caused great concern for the Queen as it opened her rule up to more assassination attempts. Luckily for her, though, the majority of Catholics actually preferred to celebrate their faith privately and continued to support her. But the Parliament at the time ended up passing a couple of different acts in their parliamentary system. So it said treasonous acts made it treason for anyone to say or write that Elizabeth was not the true Queen of England and Wales. And a further act made it illegal for anyone to actually bring any of these official orders from the Pope into England and Wales and carry out any orders. So it was just illegal for any of these documentations to come into England.
What? Go ahead.
No, well, I was just going to say, as we have mentioned on the Instagram page, Mary is eventually going to be arrested and held kind of under house arrest for 15 years. They're going to keep a watchful eye on her. A couple of Catholic noblemen are going to kind of come up with a plan, the Babington plot, and ask Mary to join their cause. Mary simply says, hey, can I have some more information? But that sparks enough to claim that she is treasonous and they're going to execute her.
Not good.
Yeah.
Execution. Not good.
Not good.
No. What's the name of the Pope that did that? Pope Pius?
Pope Pius V.
Pius. Now, that's a name that doesn't get used anymore. Pius.
No, I can't even remember the last Pius. And Pope names are really fascinating, right? Because, of course, just like monarchy, it's not their official name.
They're given birth names.
They're given
right.
birth name, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of symbolism behind the name and why they choose the name that they do.
Right. No, I know that, but I'm just like in general normal usage, like, Pope John Paul, where there are people named John Paul that are born, or
you don't hear a lot of like, hey, I have a little Pius in my grade 7 class.
Exactly. I'm even like, we just had Pope Benedict, like there are people
Benedict
named Benedict.
the 16th.
Yeah, or Benedict Cumberbatch.
Well, Benedict Cumberbatch.
The actor,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like that name is still somewhat used. I don't think I've ever known someone actually named Pius.
I have never met a real Pius in real life. And I mean, asking teachers names about children, you get a lot of stories, right? Right? I'm actually Googling it quickly to see how popular it is.
The name Pius.
You don't. I wish I could share this chart. Like if you guys could see this visual, but it starts off like really high in about the 1900s and just tanks to basically zero in 2019. But there's a slight increase. It got popular after 2019, I guess.
So literally in like the last 2 years or so?
In the last 2 years, it's starting to come back, which is very interesting to me.
Okay, then. Well, I'm sure at some point here over the next few years, our paths may cross with someone named Pius.
Maybe we will see a Pius, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to go on any of my baby name lists anytime soon.
No, I won't make mine either. Hey, to each their own.
Yeah.
You know what is a fairly common name is Hayley. A lot of girls are named Hayley.
Yeah, I know a lot of Hayleys.
And on March 2nd, 2010, Hayley Dawson was born. Now, I know exactly what everybody listening to this show is thinking. Wait, 2010. So this girl is turning 11 here in a couple of days. What has she done and why is she significant enough to be talked about on our show? Well, she was born with Poland syndrome, which is a birth defect characterized by an underdeveloped chest muscle and causes short-webbed fingers on one side of the body. Now,
interesting. Only one side.
So it only affects one side of the body. So she is missing 3 fingers on her right hand and has an underdeveloped pinky and thumb. Now, this of course would be a challenging birth defect. In fact, there's no known cause for it. One theory seems to be a disruption of blood flow during development.
Okay.
While still in the womb. But what she is known for is she is the first person. This is actually really cool. And I'm pretty jealous of her, to be honest with you. She had a wish a few years ago to throw out the first pitch at all 30 Major League Baseball stadiums.
Oh, I love that idea.
And
What a great dream.
her father was a big Baltimore Orioles fan, and so they reached out to the Orioles, and
Mhm.
they were like, yeah, sure, we'd love to have you come out. And she threw out the pitch, and it just kind of snowballed from there. As other teams heard about her story, they're like, yeah, come throw out the first pitch at our stadium, and so on. So what she has is, when she was 5, so this was a couple of years before she threw out the pitch at the Orioles game, she got fitted with a 3D printed robotic hand, thanks to some engineers at the University of Nevada in Las Vegas. And so what they did is, her mother had found a file, an open source design for a 3D prosthetic hand. And
Okay.
she went to the university. They're like, hey, is this something you think you guys maybe could do? And the university took this on as a challenge. And they said, yeah, we'll kind of come up with it. They re-engineered it a little bit. And so they make her a hand out of ABS plastic with rubber joints. And, there's about 30 parts in all in this whole hand. And it relies on her wrist movement
That's
to
so cool.
trigger the fingers. Like, it detects, it attaches to her wrist with a Velcro straps, and as she moves the muscles in her wrists, it will cause the fingers to grip.
Now, is her dominant hand the one that is afflicted by the syndrome?
Yes. So
Yeah.
this is
Oh,
her.
interesting.
This is her right hand.
Okay.
Which, I mean, I guess her dominant hand now probably would be her left, because that would be the hand. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
how
like
much
you're
she
born
can
with a
do.
dominant hand, and then she would just naturally have used the one that wasn't afflicted.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much use, like fine motor use, she gets with this hand. Obviously enough, like, to grip a baseball, but I don't know, is she able to write clean? Like, I would think she could probably write a little bit easier with her left hand, probably, I would think. All in all, each hand takes about a week to make and costs about $200 in components. So
Oh
it's
my goodness.
pretty affordable.
See, and I find that so interesting because I have a third cousin who has prosthetic limbs, and I know how much time and energy and money used to have to go into making these limbs, right? The fact that we're able to do that with 3D technology, 3D printing technology, is incredible.
Yeah, that is cool. So what they do is they figure she has to get a new hand probably about every year as her body grows. So they just take the file and they kind of resize everything so it stays proportionate as she grows. And it's a fairly routine thing for her to get a new hand. In fact, as she went on her journey to 30, is what it was called, to pitch in all the stadiums, UNLV printed a new hand for her for each appearance that she made. It's like in the team's color scheme with their logos.
Oh, that is
and
so
stuff.
cool.
So
Oh, I
that's
love
actually
that.
really, really cool. She donated the Baltimore Orioles hand, which was the first one that she had that she used for the first stadium. That's actually now in the National Baseball Hall of Fame.
That is awesome. I
So
love
it
that.
is on display.
That is so cool. When did she get to the 30? Has she gotten to 30?
Yes. So she threw out the first pitch in Baltimore in August of 2015. And then in 2017, she had the idea to do this. And that was when it got put out there on Twitter. And on September 16th, 2018, she had thrown out the first pitch in the 30th. So she completed them really within almost a year, because
So she was quite little.
Yeah.
Like,
So
she's born in 2010.
Yeah. So she was
8.
Yeah. So she accomplished more at 8 than
Than I have in 35.
Yeah. In fact, she even threw out the first pitch at Game 4 of the 2017 World Series.
That is so cool. I wonder who was more excited with the Oriole throw. Was it her dad or her?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know that. The cool thing was United Airlines stepped up and they flew her and her family to each of the stadiums at no cost.
I just love it when companies and people come together and just try to do something that is positive.
Yeah.
And feel good.
It's a good feel-good story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So her birthday's coming up. So I hope she has a wonderful 11th birthday.
Yes. And she's even got to drop the puck for a Vegas Knights hockey game.
Oh, so now she has to go and drop the puck at all the NHL games.
Right. I don't know if that's on her list yet to do or not, but that at least is pretty cool. So good for her. Happy birthday, Hayley. So Trish, I got something for you. Speaking of names, Florida becomes the 27th state of the Union, added to the United States on March 3rd, 1845.
Happy birthday, Florida.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Florida. We are old. And although not as old as other cities, but we are, or states, but we are.
And Alberta seems like a baby next to you. Like
when was Alberta?
Alberta was 1905.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we're a baby province.
I guess that makes sense because especially up in that far up north, definitely was taking a while for people to expand out west.
Yeah, there's different things in our history that caused there to be for it to take their time, and then once you get to the Rocky Mountains, it really slowed down kind of the explorers and you know the first prime minister was really trying hard to make a deal to get everyone to make a transcontinental railroad and join everyone together. So there's different issues going on, but yeah, we're a baby in comparison to you guys.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I was recently just watching something actually on the U.S. highway system and how it came to be because long story short, we'll get into this at some point on the show, but the military was trying to take equipment out west, and because there was not an established interstate system, they struggled so much when they got out west because of the mountains and because of the deserts and because of just there was not a good pathway out there. And so it led ultimately to the creation of the U.S. highway system that we have.
Oh, so it's a direct, impact from your military history.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. But that is not what we are talking about today. So
we're talking about Florida.
We're talking about Florida because God knows Florida man is a thing. And that's one thing we've missed from 2020 is not having all the crazy Florida stories. But what I do have for you, I thought this would be something kind of fun, something a little different for us to do. So Florida has some very interesting, uniquely named cities. And I thought it would be fun if I give you a list and let's just see. Some of them we can discuss as far as how they got their names, and some of them I just want to see how somebody who's not from here would pronounce them, because
how badly I'm going to butcher them. Sure, please don't hate me, Florida.
But to be fair, and anyone in Florida that's listening to this will know there are people here who mess these up sometimes. So don't feel too bad, Trish, if you get if you get some of these wrong. We will still love you here in Florida. So I'm
and I was told that I'm not allowed to use my dyslexia for numbers because numbers is dyscalculia. And like I said, I was just going to try and use whatever I could to my advantage. But now this is legitimate. Like my anxiety level's going up a little bit because I'm looking at these things going, oh goodness, I have to read this. Okay. So
Trish, you should see on your screen now I have a list of some names and places in Florida. So just feel free to start running from the top.
Some of these look okay.
Yeah. Some of these are going to be very easy to pronounce. They're just interesting and unique names. I just figured I'd throw them in there for you.
Like I can see Christmas. I know how to pronounce that.
Yeah. So we have Christmas.
Howie in the Hills.
So Christmas, side note, their post office gets slammed in the month of December from people all around Florida taking their letters there. So they get postmarked from Christmas, Florida.
How far away is Christmas from you?
30 minutes.
Okay. I would like to issue this challenge.
I will do it for you.
Because
next year, I will do
in Nova Scotia, there's Christmas Island, and the same thing happens where they want to go and get your letter postmarked. And my mom has done it for people in the past, so I can be like, Mom, I have some Americans that need Christmas letters.
I tell you what, and hi to Trish's mom for listening, one of our biggest fans. I will send you a letter from Christmas, Florida this Christmas.
Okay, I'll make sure you get Miriam's address.
Yes, make sure I get her address, and I will make sure that happens. I'll make sure you get one too, Trish. But
okay,
because if I'm going there, I might as well make it count.
Just get them all. Let's just
Yes.
pre-plan now. We'll be
Okay.
good.
Fair
Okay.
enough.
I'm really scared to do this first one though.
By the way, Howie in the Hills, you just said that one.
Yeah.
So that the original name of that city was just Howie.
Okay.
And it got the in the hills part because that part of Florida is rather hilly. So Howie in the Hills. That was how
Okay.
it got that part of the name. All right. Start with the first one.
But the one on the top is causing me such anxiety. Okay. Okahumpka.
Yes.
Yay.
I'm gonna keep a running total. We'll see how you do
Okay.
on this. I'm only gonna score like the funky ones. I'm not gonna
Okay. Not the
like,
normal ones.
yeah,
That makes
normal
sense.
ones that we're just gonna discuss.
Okay. Wakahuta.
Yeah. Okay.
Ooh.
You're doing
Maybe
good here.
dyslexia is helping me. 2 egg,
2 egg. Yep. Mhm.
but it's TOO, not TWO. So like, is it just 2 egg shaped? Like, what is up with that?
Yeah, it's 2 egg. It auto correct.
Oh yeah, there, TWO, 2
Yep.
egg Florida. So there's
Mhm.
2 eggs.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So
Next.
2 egg, but not 2 eggs. That's interesting.
Right. So 2 egg actually gets its name. It was at a trading spot among Native Americans. And so as the story goes, at the time people would trade things and stuff. And so 2 egg, like you trade something for 2 eggs. And
Oh, okay.
that's just kind of
It's stuck.
It's stuck.
Okay. Wikiwachi.
Gosh, you're doing good.
Yeehaw Junction.
Yeehaw Junction. Yeah, so this actually originally had a different name, but
Okay.
they decided to clean it up.
That sounds interesting.
It was originally if we have any little ones, just like
Cover your ears.
earmuffs
Earmuffs.
for just a second. It was originally Jackass Junction.
Oh,
Because
that's just another name for a donkey.
For a donkey, but I just, in case anyone's listening.
Right.
So yeah, so it was originally Jackass Junction, and because at the time it was where the trains would meet and the donkeys and everything, and so that was just what it got to be named. And then when they put the Florida Turnpike in, they said, "Hey, let's call this something else." So Yeehaw Junction came to be.
Yeehaw Junction.
All right,
okay.
now this
I
next
like it.
one,
This looks hard.
Yeah, I will tell you now, there are people here who cannot say this. So go
Okay.
for it.
We have Lake Tehopkaliga.
You're so close on that one. I almost want to give it to you. It's Lake Tehopkaliga.
Okay. Tehopkaliga, not Kaliga.
You were like 85% of the way there.
That's pretty good. I got real nervous. That word looks very tricky.
I'm gonna put that on the maybe column. Let's see how you do by the end.
Frostproof. That sounds like a neat place.
Yeah. Now, contrary to that name, we do get frost and freeze in Florida. It does happen. In fact, just a couple weeks ago, I sent you a picture of some frost here, so it does happen. But it's still a pretty cool name.
Mayo.
Yes.
Like the condiment.
Yes, in fact, so funny story about Mayo. In 2018, the city temporarily changed its name to Miracle Whip as part of a marketing campaign, and the city received $250,000 in exchange.
That's cute. Oh my gosh!
So, and for a small town,
not Hellman's though,
right? So some of these are small towns, hundreds or maybe 1,000 people or something. So $250,000 for a small town is a lot of money.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Couch.
Yep.
This is where, as a Canadian, it can get tricky because our language has been infiltrated by the American language, but we're still so heavily influenced by the British. So sometimes you have couches in Canada. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have sofas. Sometimes you have Chesterfields.
Ah, okay.
Which I don't think you guys use the term Chesterfield, right?
That's a new one for me. Sofas, yeah. Oh. Like couch and sofa is kind of used sort of interchangeably here. It just depends, what you grow up saying.
So Couch, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Dogtown. That Dogtown I always associate with California.
Is there a Dogtown, California?
Well, I thought Dogtown, isn't that like where they started skateboarding because it was associated with surfing?
Could be.
I'd have to double check now. Okay, this one's going to be tricky. Okay. Econlockhatchee River. Again,
I'm going to give you that.
Okay.
Because the only thing, and this is definitely just a Canadian American thing. It is you said Econlock Ahachi,
Yeah.
and
Is A?
typically here it would be said with a short A, right? So it'd be
Oh, okay.
Econlock Ahachi. So
Like a
yeah.
Hachi.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh gosh. Okay. Lake Okeechobee.
Ooh, okay. Lake
What?
Okeechobee.
Like Okeechobee, not
Mhm.
Okeechee, but there's a double
Right.
E.
There's a double E, yeah. So that's actually, you know where this lake is, believe it or not.
I
So
do.
yeah, you do. So whenever you look at Florida on a map, you see that big giant lake towards the south part of the state.
Yes.
That
Oh, okay.
that's Lake Okeechobee.
Okeechobee.
Mhm.
So is this, uh, now this is throwing my brain. Ocoee?
Yes.
Ooh, my
You,
my phonics work is working.
you're doing really good with this.
Oh, that like, it's funny. Like, I know you people listening can't actually see me. Sometimes my students can see me when I'm teaching, and your brain knows one way of how to say it, but your like tongue and mouth doesn't want to go it. And so I'll get like this look on my face where it's like, I know how to do this. Okay. Um, now this could be interesting because it can be one pronunciation or
Because of
another.
the A's, right?
Well, even the C, it could be like OC or Oka, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ocala?
Okay. Typically here it would be said Ocala, but again,
Ocala.
that's more of the differences with the A's. I mean,
Okay.
you're doing really good. I mean, we are far enough down on this list. You are going to get more right than you get wrong.
I don't
I can tell
know.
you that right
Some of
now.
these look a little intense. Okay. Uh Kisemri? Kissimmee?
There you go. Kissimmee.
Kissimmee?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Now
Kissimmee. You gotta go fast.
that one sometimes gets pronounced Kissimmee.
Kissimmee. That I could
Mm-hmm.
see.
But Kissimmee is how it's said.
Kissimmee.
And so, like, whenever somebody's maybe doing a news report or something and they don't know it, like, down in Kissimmee, Florida, it's like,
And you're like, you don't
you don't
know.
know.
Palatka?
Yes,
Palatka?
Palatka. Mm-hmm. Yep,
Palatka.
Palatka.
Uh, Chil- Chiluota? Chilota?
Oh, so close. So close.
Chilauta?
Chuliota.
Oh, I would not. Chuluia. What?
Chuliota. To be
Chuluiota.
fair to anybody who listening, it's spelled Chuluota, but
Okay.
it
Yeah,
is said
Chiluota.
right. So Chuluota would look, and with how some of these names are pronounced, if you're taking the way thinking how some of these other cities are said, you would think maybe Chuluota, but no, it's Chuliota.
Okay.
How we get Lee in the middle of that when it should be Lu, it really should probably be Chuluota, but
Yeah, because it looks like almost like the different Hawaiian words. But I mean, that's totally a different dialect, so
yeah,
that makes sense. Spanish and Indigenous and Hawaiian are very different. Okay. Geneva.
very good.
Yeah, like
Right on.
Switzerland.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I didn't even
Titusville.
think of that. Titusville,
I know
very good.
Titusville because there's Titusville, Pennsylvania.
Okay, and Titusville is over on the Space Coast, close to where NASA and everything, the Kennedy Space Center is.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Alachua.
Again, I'm gonna give you that because of the A pronunciation. Otherwise, it was spot on. It's Alachua.
Alachua.
Mhm.
Alachua. So it's also like where you have the stresses on the words.
There's actually an Alachua County in north central Florida. Gainesville is in Alachua County, where the University of Florida is.
Okay. Okay. Now it could be okay. Isla Morada.
That's a hard no on that one.
Is it Isla Morada?
It's Isla Morada.
What? Isla
Yeah.
Morada.
So
What?
this has this one has a silent S.
Isla Modora.
Isla Morada.
Isla Morada.
Mm-hmm. And this is
Okay.
down when you're going down the Keys, like you're going down to Key West. It's on the way.
Well, that makes sense. Like you can
Mhm.
have isles, and you don't really have the S until the end of that word. And then Zephyr Hills, like the Led Zeppelin, like the blimp, a
Nope.
Zephyr.
Zephyr Hills.
That's what I said, Zephyr Hills. But it's like they're named after the Zeppelins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Zephyr Hills is there's a spring there where they do bottled water. It's one of the big bottled water producers in the state.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's actually who is it? Jensen Ackles named one of his kids Zephyr.
Oh, interesting.
I know that.
You
That
did
the stress
really
level.
good. You really did good with that. I am proud of you. So I have you down as getting 11 right, 4 wrong, and 1
You gave me kind of a maybe.
I gave you kind of. I'll move it to the yes column because I forgot about the maybe column. So I think a couple more of those yeses were close enough. So I've got you 12-4. So you did phenomenal.
Whew.
You
I
got,
can relax now. The
yeah.
stress can come down.
I mean, you got what, about 75% right?
That's pretty good.
That's good. That's good.
And now I have 7 names for you
Oh,
that
geez.
are basically indigenous names around Alberta.
Okay.
We of course have a lot of Cree and Blackfoot in Alberta, and actually there's a push to rename a lot of these places back to their traditional indigenous names. But these are ones that are around. A lot of them are around where I am in Alberta or in Edmonton. But
Okay. And I should mention real quick that a lot of the Florida names come from either, Native Americans, or some of them are Spanish influenced from the Spanish influences that we have in Florida. So,
right.
Just
Yeah.
one side note. I didn't get to explain that before we just dove right in and did the Florida names. Okay. All right. Boy, these are, a lot of these are definitely going to be indigenous names, it looks like. I would have done better with the French. Although you would think with all the Native American names in Florida, I should get some of these. Athabasca?
Yep.
Okay. Chippewan?
Chippewan. So that was really
Chippewan.
close.
Okay. Kananaskis?
That's so cute. Kananaskis?
Kananaskis? I was just going to say maybe Kananaskis. Could be like, because there's 3 A's in it, maybe you pronounce each one differently.
It was a good guess.
Okay. Masquissus? Macoswis?
So this one.
Masquakis?
Oh, you're giving almost all but the correct.
Correct one.
So Muscatcheese.
Muscatcheese. Okay. Yeah. I was.
So that it used to be, it had actually an English name and it was renamed back to the traditional Cree name for Bear Hills.
Okay. All right. This one looks simple, but Okotoks?
Close. So Okotoks. Yeah,
Okotoks.
there you got
it. I got it right then. All right.
So it's actually, there is a large erratic. So this is Blackfoot for Big Rock, and there's just an erratic there. And so it's named after that Big Rock. There's actually a Big Rock Brewery too.
Okay. Wabamoon?
So
Wabaman. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a
it's
lake
the U
not
that,
too far from Edmonton.
Yeah, the U is what was throwing me off there. Okay. Wabaman. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Last one here. Waskatanow? Waskatanow?
So it is Wassetnow.
Wassetnow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have a silent K in there.
Yeah.
It's like the one I hit you with that had the silent S. You have a silent K.
Well, and Wassetnow is actually on the way to my brother's house. And he was like, yeah, you got to stop there and get this, they have a great bakery at this gas station and blah, blah, blah. And can you pick stuff up for me? And when I was looking for it on my way to his house, that was not the word that I had in my mind when I was looking at the pronunciation. But yeah.
Right. Yeah,
you did really good, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I got probably about 4 of them, I think, spot on.
The 7.
And a couple of them, maybe on the second or third guess I got.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
fun.
I think you did really good.
Yeah, that was fun.
Well, what also is fun, Mike, is music.
Yes. Music is fun. I have missed
can,
concerts.
yeah, you can dance, you can sing, you can party, go to concerts.
Mm-hmm.
And on February 26, 1932, we have a very famous musician who is born, and that is one Mr. Johnny Cash. So I have found 4 interesting facts about Johnny Cash to help celebrate his birthday. And I'm just wondering if maybe you've heard of some of these or if our listeners have heard of these.
Okay. Hit me.
Okay. So
right.
he actually wrote more than just music. His first published piece was called Hey Porter, which appeared in a military newspaper. He has written 2 autobiographies. So in 75, he wrote Man in Black, and in 97, he wrote Cash, the autobiography, which were both penned in longhand in notebooks. And
Oh, wow.
he had someone type them up for him.
Very cool.
And what I didn't know is he's actually a novelist. He published a novel called Man in White in 1986, which was a fictional account of 6 years in the life of the Apostle Paul. And he considered the novel to be one of his greatest achievements.
That is pretty neat. You wouldn't think of him as you think of him as a writer because you think of him as a songwriter. And
Yeah.
in a sense, songwriting, especially the era that he was in, was storytelling.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Kind of following on the whole idea of writing about the Apostle Paul, another interesting fact is he was actually an ordained minister. So in the 1960s, I know he's much more well known for kind of that rebellious image of wrecking hotel rooms and being under the influence of drugs and alcohol and things like that.
Right.
But in 1968, after remarrying his wife, June Carter, he began a lifelong re-examination of his life where he got clean and focused on his faith. And during the 1970s, after more than 2 years of studying, he actually received a degree in theology and became a minister. And what I thought was really interesting is he presided over his daughter's wedding.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Pretty
it's
cool
kind of a
thing to
special.
get to do. Yeah, I was in a wedding a couple of years ago, in fact, where the father of the bride officiated the ceremony. So,
Yeah, and
that
I've
was
had
pretty cool.
cousins, a cousin that was married by their now husbands. The mom was a minister. So it's always kind of interesting. It adds a little flair to the wedding.
Yeah, and it adds an extra personal connection to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Johnny
really cool.
Cash wasn't actually his real name.
That I know. I know that
See, and
was
I did not.
I don't off the top of my head know what it is, but I'm sure that you're about to tell us.
Yeah. So he grew up as J.R. Cash, and I was wondering what the J.R. stood for. It didn't stand for anything. His parents literally named him initials.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't Johnny. I knew that was a stage name.
Yeah, the Cash part was real. It's only when he joins the Air Force in 1950 that he had to assign himself a name because the recruiter wouldn't accept the fact that initials were his name. So he just said, okay, JR became John R. Cash.
And then that turned into Johnny Cash.
Johnny.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And the last interesting kind of fact I found out about him is that he had planned out a desert island playlist. So if he was ever trapped on a desert island, he had a compilation album that he would have had in mind if that was the only music he was allowed to ever listen to.
Okay. Do we know what was on this playlist?
Yeah. So in his autobiography, he wrote he would take Bob Dylan's The Free Willin', Merle Travis's Down Home, Jimmy Davis's Greatest Gospel Hits, Emmylou Harris's Roses in the Snow, Rosanne Cash's The Wheel, a gospel album by Rosetta Tharpe, and something by Beethoven.
Just something. Just surprise me. Just throw something in there. Okay. That's a diverse list.
A little bit of everything. I feel like that's how I would be if I was stuck on a desert island and I knew that I was never going to hear any music other than what I pre-planned to bring with me. I would want a little bit of like a little bit of everything.
I would too, because it's very tempting for me to want to say like, just give me the entire library by, a particular singer or something. But I would eventually want to hear something different. So my playlist would be all over the place. I mean, I would have George Strait. I would have Britney Spears. You know what I mean?
That's how I would be. There's folk singers from back home that I would need, like the Rankins. But then, I'd want my pop. I'd want some classic rock. Yep. I'd want a little bit of, uplifting kind of faith-filled music too.
Sure, because if you're on a desert island, you want to kind of keep the faith. Yeah.
So there'd be a lot going on. There definitely have to be some Matchbox 20. They
I've
were
met
big for me.
I met the guitar player for
Oh,
Matchbox 20 once. Yeah, me and a friend of mine, we were in there's a guitar store in Orlando, and we were in there one day, and
and he was just there?
he was just in there. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Just talked to him for like, maybe a minute or so, but it was
Yeah.
just kind of cool. It's like, wait a minute. Hey,
Like, you look
I know
familiar.
you.
See, and I don't actually know if I ran into a musician. I'm like the worst person when it comes to faces and names. It would just be like, I would have to trust the fact that if I was with you and you told me that's who it was, I'd be like, okay.
I could have some fun with this whenever we meet and we're out. Be like,
Oh,
hey,
don't.
that person over there. Yeah, they're
There's so and so.
yeah. Oh, hey, that's the mayor of Orlando over there. Oh, let's go
I
meet
would
him.
I would
I'd be
totally
like,
believe you. I would make an idiot of myself.
I have met the mayor, but though a couple times, in fact, I've met him. But yeah,
Yeah, I've met our mayor here in Edmonton too a few times, but
that's cool.
Edmonton's a lot smaller than Orlando.
Yeah. Well, speaking of keeping the faith, that takes us. We have another musical birthday this week.
Oh, who's
Uh-huh.
that?
Well, keeping the faith is dropping a big hint. John Francis Bongiovi Jr. was born March 2nd, 1962.
Yes.
Of course, you probably know him best as John Bon
Bon
Jovi,
Jovi.
lead singer of Bon Jovi.
Good songs. I would definitely have a few of his songs on my
I
desert playlist too.
totally would. And it's kind of interesting when you think about a lot of their music, especially their big hits.
Hmm.
For the most part, they're all kind of, there's a positive spin to a lot of their music. It's not
Yeah.
negative. It's not sex, drugs, and rock and roll type stuff. I mean, living on a prayer, keep the faith, wanted dead or alive. Okay, there's dead, but it's like a cowboy. It's a lot of upbeat kind of.
Mhm.
There's inspiring parts to it.
I feel like too Bon Jovi doesn't really take himself like overly serious. Like he knows he's making good music and it's popular music, but I feel like he's able to just be kind of down to earth about his music.
Yeah,
Maybe that's just me.
and I've never met him. I've seen them in concert before. He seems like a really good guy. He's very charitable. Like, I know he's got a restaurant or two in like Philadelphia where you don't pay to eat.
Yeah,
Like,
I've heard
he
of that too.
funds it, and people that need food can come there and get meals. He was, I know, a co-owner of the Philadelphia Soul Arena football team back in like the 2000s.
Oh,
And
that I didn't know.
they did a lot of charity stuff in the community and everything. Yeah, so seems like a pretty cool guy.
And he's been in a lot of TV too, like more than I
TV
knew.
and movies, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of TVs and movies, do you know what the first movie to gross $1 billion at the box office was?
I actually do know this one.
Did you know it before we did our research for this week's show?
I did, but I would have had to be reminded of it. But go ahead and tell us, Mike, what is it?
Well, on March 1st, 1998, after it had been released for about 3 months or so at this point, Titanic became the first film to gross $1 billion.
And a good portion of that was from a friend of mine in junior high who went to the movie like 11 times.
11 times?
I know, 11 times. And we, in our small town of 5,000 people, we had one movie theater with you would have one movie and that was it. Like, and because Titanic was so popular for so long,
right,
it was in our movie theater forever. I was dying for another movie to come to our town. I went, how many times did you go?
To see Titanic, I only saw it once.
Really?
In theaters, yeah.
Oh. See, I went, oh shoot, was it 2 or 3 times? I think I went 3 times, once with my mom, 2 times with friends, different groups of friends. And I think I've only ever watched it like on a DVD or VHS once.
Yeah, I've seen it. I saw it in the theater once, and then I've seen it, like, if we're actually talking start to finish, I've maybe only seen it once since then on DVD or Blu-ray or something, or maybe even just on HBO. I've seen parts and pieces of it throughout, like, you flip through the channels and it's on, and I catch, a scene or two here or there kind of a thing. But it's funny because it's kind of been a movie that's sort of on a rewatch list that I want to go back and watch because it's really been so long since I've actually seen it start to finish that um, I want to go back and see. So that will, at some point in 2021, I will go back and rewatch that. I will carve out the 3 hours and 15 minutes or whatever it is to
see it.
rewatch it. Yeah.
But it did a lot of groundbreaking work in 1998 or 97, I guess, when it came out.
When it came out, yeah. Like
the CG work and the prop. And
yeah, I'd be curious to see how well that holds up now versus.
I think it still holds up. I think I personally was not super thrilled with it. I loved Titanic, and that was just an area of interest for me. And so to have the love story kind of superimposed on top of it, I was like, eh. I was one of the few girls, I think, that was not overly, oh yay, Leonardo DiCaprio, whatevs.
Well, I was just gonna say, yeah. Well, Leo DiCaprio was the big guy back then, and to think here we are, 24 years later, and he's still fairly popular.
Yeah, still popular. I think he looks better now than back in 97.
I could see that.
I think he was just like, I don't know, too boyish looking for me. But
yeah, he kind of grew into more of a man at that point. Yeah. No, I get you.
But I think the acting was top. Not like I agree, the acting was good. I mean, the set design incredible. The clothing, right, wardrobe.
Yeah,
all of that fabulous. I just was like I wanted more of just the Titanic story, not the love story. But
I got you. More of a historical aspect.
Yeah, shocking that the historian, podcaster, and social studies teacher was like, ugh, the love story. Like, who cares?
Right. But they had to have some sort of way to tie it in because it's a historical event, but it's not. There's no iconic people's stories to tell, if that makes sense.
Oh, there are so many, though.
But that I mean that are known. Is like you
but that's why then educate the population about these very interesting people who are on board.
Yeah, but you see, then people can just it's just easier to just make the crap up and tell our own story.
Yeah, it is easier.
That's that's what I'm saying. Like, because that's the thing when you get to historical movies, sometimes you don't have the people's stories, so they have to kind of create.
Well, and having the freedom,
these people,
right? The freedom to do it.
Yeah.
But there's in Halifax, of course, we have the Titanic graveyard. So I've gone and I've seen the Titanic exhibit at the Maritime Museum on the waterfront down there. And in the graveyard, there actually is a J. Dawson where the grass has been worn out from people going to the Titanic graveyard and thinking he is the Jack Dawson from the movie. And we're like, no. This was actually a real person, not the made up person from the film.
We have a Titanic exhibit here in Orlando, actually.
Oh, did they just decide to purchase pieces, or was there a connection to Florida?
I think it was just, hey, this is a place where a bunch of
Titanic's
tourists go.
Cool.
We can make some money.
Oh, okay.
It's right in the middle of on I-Drive on basically like the tourist trap area where there's a lot of stuff.
It would work for me. I'd be like, Titanic exhibit, I'm there.
So there's like an exhibit and there's a whole dinner show thing that they do. And yeah.
Oh, cool. Actually, I like that. All right. So another bucket list item for when I visit you in Florida.
Yes. You need to just plan like to be in Florida for, I don't know, about 3 weeks probably. Or something.
You need to just plan a whole like cross US trip. Just save up and take a year off.
Right. Well, it's funny going back to Hayley earlier with the baseball. That's something I'd love to do one year. Like if I don't get to do it until I retire, fine. But if I hit the lottery between now and then and I could just take a complete year off of my life, that's what I want to do. I want to like drive around and see a game at all the baseball parks,
stadiums
in a year. Yeah.
That would actually be really nice. I love watching sports live. Watching sports on television is painful for me.
The thing I like about watching them on TV is when the game is over, I can change the channel and I'm done. I don't have to go fight traffic.
That is true. That is the very big bonus.
But yes, no, I do. I enjoy, going to stuff live as well. Yeah. So
I think I'm just the people watcher in me is happy.
Well, I think what is sad, unfortunately, is we are just about out of time for this week. Yeah. We thank you for listening. And if you didn't make it to the end of the podcast, I hope that when you're sitting there listening to music on your stereo, if people even have stereos anymore, and you go to change to the next song, I hope the batteries in your remote control die, and then you have to get up and change the song yourself.
Manual labor?
Yes. And while you're up,
Mike,
go change batteries.
Mike, that's just so mean.
I know. I'm
We
terrible.
just want to be lazy on the couch, man.
Well, then they should listen to the end of our show and know that we hope that their batteries never run out.
But those of you that did listen to the end of the show, may your batteries last double, if not triple, their original lifetime.
And spend the extra couple bucks. Get name brand batteries. They really do make a difference.
They really do.
I'm just throwing it out there. Duracell Energizer. You can, whether you like the pink bunny or the copper top, I don't care. Spend the extra couple of bucks. You will be glad you did.
Mm-hmm. And that's Mike's tip of the week.
I'm just telling you, as a techie, that trust me, some things are worth. I'm funny on some things. I need a brand name on this or that. Like, I only buy Heinz ketchup. I can't do store brand ketchup. It doesn't taste right. I will spend the extra, 40 cents or something to get the Heinz ketchup. But get the name brand batteries.
And with that, we thank you guys so much for joining us this week. And as always, if there's any questions, concerns, queries, or freakouts, let us know. You can drop us a line on our Gmail, the time machine with Trish and Mike at gmail.com.
Follow
or
us on nope.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and follow us on Instagram.
At Time Machine with Trish and Mike.
Yes.
And subscribe to us on YouTube. We are on there. The full archive is up and running. The show is on there now as well. And all episodes going forward will be there as well. So if you're more of a YouTube person, clicky that subscribey and likey and commenty and all that fun stuffy. And I don't know what else I could put a Y on the end of, but I'll think of something.
Masterfully done, my friend.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Have a great week, everyone.
Thanks for listening. And we'll catch you right back here next time on the Time Machine.